Assistant Professor Florante E. de los Santos. We have our editorial board, Mr. Vincent C. Barcelona, and the managing editors, Carl Joseph Cuding, Jason Villaflor, and Nove A. Lee. All right, so it's 2:06 p.m. And since we came from lunch, I know that once the stomach is really happy with the food that's settled in, we of course get sleepy. So I hope you can indulge me if I'll request everyone to please rise. Let's do a little stretch because it should always be a balance. We have time for listening. We ensure that our minds have food for thought. But let's not forget our bodies also, because supposedly, also according to research, we should be moving every 20 to 25 minutes. And that's right. Thank you, Prof. Esquivel, for being game to do it. So for those of you who can, if we do not have any limitations when it comes to physical activity. So first, let's do a little stretch. Pretend you're trying to reach the ceiling as far as you can. Come on, there you go. Pretend that the ceiling is just really easy to reach out to. There we go, as far as you can. Now try to tiptoe. Tiptoe, come on. Tiptoe, there you go. Go, Dean. Look at Dean Tess, guys. So easy for her. Very good. All right, if you do want to move, by all means dance. Okay. Put your hands over your shoulders. Make your movement go forward. So shoulders, 2, 3, forward, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Backwards this time. Backwards, shoulder, backwards. Come on, hands on your shoulders, backwards. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. Now stretch your arms sideways. If you tried to reach the ceiling earlier, try to reach your sides. Go. Left, right, left. Am I doing left or right? But I think you know what I mean. 4, 5. Thank you, Prof. Kaday. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hands akimbo on your hips or on your waist. Okay, make circles. Let's pretend to draw circles. If you want to dance, by all means. Level of comfortability is up to you. Okay, but if you're not so comfortable, circles are fine. So we're going towards this direction over the right side. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, get ready to do the opposite direction. If you want to dance, go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, give yourselves a big round of applause, everyone. There we go. Thank you, thank you. And we may all take our seats. I hope somehow, if your bodies are ready, I think our minds get ready too. So hope we got the heart pumping or burning. All right. Now, usually, you know our next guest speaker as one of our management committee members. But this time, he will be our speaker for this afternoon. Please allow me to formally introduce him. Our speaker for this afternoon's learning session is a chemical engineer from Adamson University. He is the Vice President for Finance of the University of Makati. He was the university's secretary for 2 years before he was promoted to vice president for finance last August 1, 2022. He earned his master's degree in business administration at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and has completed his academic requirements for his doctoral degree in business administration at Eulogio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology. Please help me give a warm round of applause to Engineer Luke Ivan B. Moro.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying. To the students, good afternoon, and thank you for attending the 7th Research Congress. Siguro I'd like to start by commending the entire research team for this 7th Research Congress. Ang ganda ng ang gagaling ng mga presenters kanina, mga plenary presenters, and very impressive yung mga kanilang credentials, kaya nakakahiya. That, parang ano. Anyway, parang ang layo na talaga ng narating ng Research Congress natin. Our first Research Congress kasi was during my term. Tapos, pero mo yun, galing ka sa bakasyon. Tapos pagdating mo, merong ganyan instruction. Organize a Research Congress. Aba, ano na yun? Basta latter part of the year na yun. Ba, anong ma-organize kong Congress dyan? Di ba, you have to call for papers. And it takes time talaga. Anyway, so what I did was talagang, sino yung naka-receive ng financial grant, yun ang nag-present ko. Yun. So at least, pero we've come a long way from that, di ba? So, and hopefully, we'll be able to replicate aral ng Lasal, di ba? Na ang dami mga so we'll be able to invite presenters from other schools. Right now, so we have presenters. We started with faculty lang, ngayon may pati students of our university, they also present papers. Anyway, kaninang umaga, ang challenge presented to us by Sir Don Presno was the trend now is collaboration, internationalization, and collaboration. But there's a challenge. We need to make ourselves, I guess, noteworthy and kumbaga, acceptable partner in the collaboration process. We have to make our prospective partners happy and proud that they have partnered with us. Diba? They are partnering with us. Kasi nga, so that brings the question, what do we bring to the table? Okay? So, that's the challenge. Pero, what's the trend right now? We have incentives. There's already a policy that if a faculty member gets published in a Q1 or Q2 paper, merong ganitong certain amount. And it's considerable amount, no? Pero, what's the trend? You do not get published if your paper was not reviewed by a research ethics committee. Okay? So, it's already in place. So, meron ng ginawang mga hakbang ang university for our faculty members and even students to get published even in international and high-impact journals. Kasi meron na tayong Research Ethics Committee that is already accredited by the, FREB, no? FREB, okay? So, tapos may incentives na, and we have partnership with Sir Don Presno. So, there are already mechanisms that are in place to ensure that the quality of our research is publishable, meets the international standards. But there's just one thing, yung research methodology natin. What is the trend? What is the present situation right now? In our university, and also sadly, in another institution where I'm currently pursuing my doctoral degree, we're still teaching the same thing. Okay? So let me start and end with this later. Stop teaching Slovene. Okay? So yan. As you know, I'm for the information of everyone, I'm in my dissertation writing of my doctoral studies, and my dissertation explores the influence of the relationships of four variables. Four variables. Okay? College connectedness, growth mindset, home environment, how these three influence the academic achievement of the student, of the learner. So I'll be using structural equation modeling, SEM. So dito sa atin, where's Dr. Tabahin? It's unfortunate na wala siya yata. Okay? Because that's the sad thing, no? Even in the other schools, mukhang yung SEM hindi pa talaga practiced dito sa university natin. And hindi pa tinuturo. When I was the director for research, there's not much difference between the statistics at the master's level and the statistics that is taught at the doctorate level, because I've seen the OBTL. Parang walang ano, and it's still very, para sa akin, being an engineer, parang very elementary, because these are things, these are stuff I learned in college. Even in my doctoral, parang we still have to discuss mean, median, mode. Oh, but these are things I learned in high school. And yet, even at the doctoral level, tinuturo pa rin. It's kind of insulting. Sorry ha. Diba? But that's the situation right now. So, hindi ho advanced ang tinuturo nating statistics sa graduate level. Sad to say. Okay? So, this is what prompted me to explore what sample size should a researcher use, because as I've said, I'll be using SEM, structured equation modeling, which was developed back in 1914. So more than 100 years old na siya, and yet we're still not teaching it. But in other schools, even at the undergraduate level, they're able to produce a research paper, mga undergraduate students, using SEM. I'm sure to the students that are present, medyo strange pa, alien pa sa kanila, ano yung SEM. Hindi ho talaga siya widely known pa at in our university. Anyway, yun nga, this has prompted me to do this, no? What sample size should I use? Because my advisor, when I told him that I'll be using this rule of thumb, yung Roscoe's guidelines, to determine the sample size, sabi niya, sir, consider Slovene. So talagang medyo napa-facepalm ako dahil, sorry, if I come across medyo haughty, dahil in all the readings that I've done, Slovene was never mentioned. And Slovene is only popular in the Philippines And Slovene is not even known, is not even certain kung Slovene ba talaga. Because in other countries, it's known as Yamani formula. Okay? So, yun. And I'll try to answer why Slovene is so popular. And what when I tell you that stop teaching Slovene, then what are the alternatives to Slovene? Okay? So this prompted me to do a little investigation, a little experiment, and I used the results of our admission exam as the data for this investigation. So I'd like to acknowledge the help and support of our Center for Admission and Scholarship, si Dr. JP Dagom. So next slide, please. So ito yung our admission results these are the subjects covered: English, Math, and Science. So English standard 1 is about familiarity of the student on figurative expressions like, can they understand a nickel, a dime, pulling my leg, or breaking a leg, or a rough day. So these are not exactly formal English, but these are idiomatic expressions. So can the student understand them? Then standard 2 is about formal writing or business writing, technical writing. Then standard 3 is medyo ma-complicated, paano i-simplify. Anyway, that's standard 3, English. How about mathematics? So mathematics 1 is about trigonometry, logic, numerical reasoning. Standard 2 is about algebra. Math 2 is about algebra and probability. Then standard math 3 is about sequences and patterns, statistics, complex algebra. Okay? Then you have science. Can they interpret data organized in charts? So it's about data interpretation. Science 2 is about analyzing, critically reading data or information, and then drawing conclusions. Then Science 3 is about your ability to evaluate and dispute the findings because the method is flawed. Okay? So, the first question is the data normal? So, there's a total of 8,651 applicants, prospective students who took the admission test. And this is the result. So it's normal. Sa dami ba naman yan? 8,651. So this is the test for normality. And that's my reference. That's my source. And by the way, this is one step that is normally skipped in the statistical analysis. Basta diretso lang agad sa descriptive stat. Mean and standard deviation, tapos test for difference, test for relationship, pero walang test for normality. From what I have experienced so far, this is not conducted. Okay? The second question is, next. So this is just a profile of the admission applicants, no? So yung Slovene formula is applicable for proportion. If you are, how many students are from single-parent household, halimbawa. Diba? Ganon. But by what attribute? Should it be by gender? Katulad nito? Yan. Kaya, isa pa yun eh. We make use of Slovene formula, tapos ang reporting natin ng results, mean and standard deviation, not proportion. So talagang, it's not valid to use Slovene formula, tapos you're reporting a mean and standard deviation. Anyway, so that's the, so talagang there is a gender issue in our, that's one question. where are the male students? Bakit mas maraming... Actually, that's one issue when I was still part of the God focus group ng city. There are more female students staying in school. Mas maraming boys that are school leavers, dropouts. Maraming lalaking nagda-drop out, which is opposite naman sa finding sa rural area. So that's a gender topic na ano, no? So in the urban areas, it's the males who are leaving the schools, but in the rural areas, it's the females who are leaving the schools, who are dropping out to do household chores, to take care of the household, para to play parang mother role as substitute for or supplement to the mother. Okay? Anyway, so these are the results. For English 1, next slide please. Yeah. So that's the average score. The total score is about 500. So, kumbaga, half is 250. Yun ang passing score. So, barely above the passing score yung mean. So, what is English 1 again? It's about yung figurative speech, no? So, figurative expressions. So how's the performance of our students? What can be said about the score of our students? Take note. So maganda yung performance ng students natin. Above 80% are above median score. Okay? So there are two formulas to follow, to use when you are determining sample size. If you are measuring the mean, then you make use of n is equal to z squared times the variance over the margin of error. Okay? Square of the error. So if you use this formula, which should be the case if you are measuring mean, then the sample size should be 500. But if you are using proportion, say, what proportion are we going to use? Yung Slovin's formula, it assumes that 50-50. Kasi the 50-50 gives the maximum sample size, about 385 or 400. Okay? So from the formula, using 50-50, that gives you 385. But if you follow what is given, what is for the result, mga 80-20, that gives you about, so kung approximate, 80-20, 246, but if you use the actual proportion, 80-18, you have 227. But if you use the Slovin's formula, 383. So take note, bakit popular ang Slovin's formula? Because it's very simple. Okay? You do not need to know anything about the population. Alam mo lang kung ilan what's your population. In this case, it's 8,651. And you just use the margin of error, which is what you set. Okay? Which is set by the researcher. So in this case, very 95% confidence level or 5% margin of error. So yun ang So 383. So that's why, this is the reason why Slovin's formula is very popular and very handy. Sabihin lang sa'yo, make use of Slovin's formula. Alam mo lang naman in the case of University of Makati, about 13,000. But actually, even if you use 1 million, 10 million, it will max out at 400. Yan ang Slovin's formula. Okay? So next, English 2. So English 2 is about the writing skills. Yan naman ang performance ng ating mga naging estudyante. These are applicants, okay? So Marami naman ang above the median score. Maganda rin ang performance. Mean score, 300. But take note, so mean, if you use the formula mean against proportion, talagang malaki ang sample size requirement if you use the mean formula. Okay? As compared to the proportion and the Sloven's formula. So take note, ang 50-50 talaga gives you the maximum. 385, 383, magkalapit lang. So, but how valid is that assumption? Based from this result, mukhang hindi valid yung assumption na 50-50. Okay? So, ganun din sa case 3. So, what can be said about the writing skills or students' technical writing skills? Next question nga dyan is, are these being inputted? Are these being considered in designing the learning activities? In the designing the syllabus or OBTL, whatever you call that. So, English 3. So, yan. So, mas mababa, sa English 3. So, this is really about the critical thinking skills na kasi, English 3. Whereas English 1 is really about familiarity of basic expressions, figurative of speech. So, it tells you about how widely read the students are. So, can our students design or evaluate sound research? So, from the score of this for English 3, kaya nila mag-design or even evaluate research that is methodological and scientific. Diba? So, these are the same. So, English 3, ganun din sa Math 1. Yan. Sa Math 1, yan. Ang scores talaga ng mga applicant sa Math talagang mas mababa compared sa English. And it's the same findings when we had a program before. I have forgotten, STAR ba yun? Na it was found out na ang level ng math on the average, math skills ng mga first year ay pang grade 2. Tapos ang English pang grade 4, grade 5, parang ganon. That was more than 20 years ago na rin naman pala yun. So, but now, I guess it's better, but still, the math score is still, diba? When you compare that to the English, talagang marami ho talagang numerically challenged. Okay? So, yan. So, even the mean is below the average, below the half, because the total score is 500, so half of that, 250. Tignan niyo yung math sa Trigo, 244. It's below the mean of 250. Okay? So, okay? So, mababa nga ang score nila sa, trigonometric literacy nila for trigonometry, medyo mababa. How about, can they handle algebra? So, let's take a look at Math 2. But, again, you look at the sample size. Ang laki talaga ng sample size requirement if you make use of the mean. Maybe that's one reason, and that's another reason why Sloven's formula is popular. Kasi maliit lang ang sample size requirement. Okay? So, how about Math 2? Yan. Mababa pa rin. Math 2 is also 249. Below, pero, can you flash the next slide? Next slide, please. Math 2, ayan, 249. So, still below the half, of 250. Pero, muntik na siya. And again, almost, hindi masyadong malayo from Math 1. So, close to 50% ang above the median score. But marami talaga ay below median. Okay? So, this is about the algebra skills of the students. Okay. How about Math 3? So these measures mas even worse. Dahil ang mean score is 233.95, 234. So it looks like our students cannot handle complex algebra and statistics. So that's Math 3. Okay? Next slide, yun ang math. So that's nga, 233. But I hope you notice, iba ang sample size na binibigay if you make use of the mean formula, of the formula for mean when you're determining sample size. Nag-iiba siya when your standard deviation changes. Yun lang naman nag-iiba eh. If you compare that to can you flashback math 3, math 2, yung previous slide? Yeah. How about previous slide pa ulit? Yan, see? Kapag mataas ang standard deviation, 83 ang taas ng sample size requirement. As compared to when your standard deviation, can you flash the next slide? Take note kung paano siya bumaba. Math 2, please. Yung next slide. Yung next slide. Yan, 55. So, less than 500, 465. So, yun ang effect ng standard deviation. And again, that's one reason why Slovin's formula is so popular kasi it allows the researcher to proceed directly to data gathering without even checking for reliability and validity of the instrument. That's another thing na medyo hindi pa practice sa atin, no? And that is why research as a one-semester course totally does not make sense. Kasi, if you make use of the mean formula for mean, dapat, ideally, you should establish first the standard deviation. How do you do that? You do a pilot study. Talagang yun ang first step. Pero, by using Slovin's formula, it allows you to skip that. Okay? So, yung rigor talaga of process ng research, medyo hindi pa natin masyado napapractice. Kasi yung development and validation pa lang of research instrument, feeling ko, it's already a research in itself, and it should be mga one semester. Buti nga si Dr. Dagum, yung yung faculty evaluation instrument natin, sinubject na niya ito an exploratory factor analysis. So, from how many indicators na ibaba niya, because that's the effect of exploratory factor analysis, dimension reduction, it allows you to reduce the number of items or indicators in your instrument. So, wala tayong ganong practice dito. Okay? So, that's the findings of math, science. Can you now proceed to the next slides? Okay. So, next slide. Again, so yun nga, these are the kumbaga, the numeracy, the science literacy of our students, no? Kasi, so mababa talaga ang math and science literacy ng mga students. Ang question now, how are these being considered in the design of syllabus? And if you notice talagang the standard deviation has an effect on the number of samples that you will need for your research using the mean formula. Okay, next. So, yun lang. So, next. Yeah. Okay. So, the lower your standard deviation, the lower your sample size. Kasi pag umakyat sa 80, 1,000. Pag bumaba sa 50, mga 500. Okay? So, next slide. So these are sample size pa lang 'yon. The next question is, what's the result? So sampling technique. Okay? So these are the descriptive stats for English 1, for all the subjects, English 1, English 2, English 3, using different sampling techniques. So it's compared between population against the sample, using different sample techniques, sampling techniques. Okay? So sample using the mean formula, sample using the proportion, sample using the approximate, and sample using the actual. Then you have random versus convenience versus purposive. Anyway, so next slide. Yan yung visual presentation of the descriptive stats. So how do we yung pinaka-left na yun yung population. The rest are these are the descriptive stats from your sample size and sampling techniques. Okay? So what can we conclude from this? It's not just sample size, but also sampling technique matters. If you notice, using convenience and purposive, ang layo niya sa real measure. If you compare that to the population. Yung population, again, yung nasa left side. The rest, yung random, even the random using medyo iba pa, medyo malayo pa rin sa But still, meron siyang within the population parameter. Okay? So that's for English. For English 2, the next slides, these are just visual presentation of confidence intervals. So again, anong makikita natin dito? Yung sample size ay yung sampling technique. The conclusion that you can derive from here is that sampling technique matters. It's not just a sample size. If you really want to approximate the true measure of the approximate the population, sample size and sampling technique matters. Okay? So yun. Kasi what can we conclude from this graph? Parang ang layo ng mga descriptive stat mo for convenience and purposive sampling. That's another thing. Diba? Dito, sa all the researches I've encountered dito, Slovin's formula to determine sample size, but Slovin's formula assumes that you use random sampling. And yet, pagdating sa sampling technique, purposive, convenient sampling, so may disconnect talaga. Kaya it really brings to question the results of the study, the findings of the study. Kasi flawed nga yung design. Okay? Next. So yun lang naman po yung sa English. So the succeeding slides are just in visual presentations of the results for the different subjects. English 3, Math 1, 2. So can we flash na to the next slides? So ganun lang naman siya. Okay? Ganun din ang findings sa Math, the same. Can you flash the next slide? So, ganun din. So, same din. So, medyo yung sample stat is so different from the population parameters. Okay? So, next slide. So, next slides na. So, I guess I can, next slide. Next. Ayan. But, is the sample normal? From the sample size, I say yes. Okay? So, lumalabas, even with the non-probabilistic sampling technique, basta umabot ka sa 100, 200, normal na yung data mo. You can make use of t-test and parametric test. Okay? Like t-test, z, etc. Okay? Next. So, the question is, why are we teaching the students Slovene's formula? Meron ba nagtuturo ng stat dito? Why am I showing this formula? When you observe a phenomenon, data has its own distribution, has its own behavior. Ganon yon. Kaya we have different models. We have binomial probabilistic distribution. We have exponential, hypergeometric, meron tayong Poisson. Because data have their own behavior. Okay? How about this? Sino nagtuturo ng chemistry rito? Okay, next slide. Yan. May ideal gas law at may real gas law. Okay? Bakit? Again, what are formulas? Formulas are abstractions of reality. They are models. They cannot correctly capture or describe reality. They are models, they are simplifications. Kung ang real world ay ganyan, so anong pinakamalapit doon? Rectangle. So meron talaga hindi nakaka-capture ang models, ang formula. Formulas are models. And therefore, they have limitations. Then bakit natin tinuturo ang Slovene's formula as if it's a one-size-fits-all that is adaptable for all situations, for all research contexts? So are we teaching the right thing to our students? Okay? So paano nga ba na-derive yung Slovene's formula? Yan. Next slide. So yan po ang from the formula on the left, yan po ang start. Then, assuming that 95% confidence level, which is 1.96, or round off to 2, yan. Then, assuming na 50-50 ang proportion, it gives you the Slovene's formula. So, yung Slovene's formula talaga started from here. And it simplifies. Okay? So, in conclusion, so yun nga, different behavior, different formula. So, Slovene should not be taught and used as if it's applicable for all situations. Then, from the visual representation, Slovene's formula gives a broader confidence interval. Confidence interval is your acceptance region. As you can see in the graph, they gave a broader population parameter, a broader descriptive stat than the population parameter. So therefore, your decision could be erroneous. Even with non-probabilistic sampling, a sample size of 200 gives a normally distributed data. And again, sampling technique matters. So probabilistic sampling technique yields descriptive stat that is closer to population parameters. Whereas yung non-probabilistic sampling like convenience and purposive yields a descriptive stat that is way off the population parameters. It may not reflect the true population. Okay? So in conclusion, Slovene's formula is only applicable for population proportion, and with the confidence interval coefficient is 95%. As I've mentioned also, next slide. There does not seem to be a person named Slovene who put forward the formula. It seems that Yamani is the oldest reference in which the formula can be found. Ayan. My reference is on the misuse of Slovene's formula from UP Diliman, the Philippine statistician. This is 2012, 12 years ago, and still we're teaching Slovene. We are misusing Slovene. Okay? We really need to upgrade if we want to be acceptable and noteworthy partners or collaborators of our international prospective partners, no? So how do you know how do you determine sample size? Okay, next slide. As I've said, this should be the formula to use. But from the formula, you need to establish the variance. So how do you do that? You use pilot study. So how do you establish the standard deviation? You can make use of, say if you are using a 5-point rating scale and 6 is a standard deviation, you can make use of this. Standard deviation is yung 5 rating scale over 6 standard deviation, so 0.833. But if you plug that to the formula, ang sample size na requirement mo is more than 1,000. So what should be the standard deviation para medyo mababa ang sample size? So, parang if you assume that the standard deviation is only about 0.5 or below, it will give you a sample size of less than 400. So, manageable na. Okay? So, that's the reference. Again. So, how do you, again, determine sample size? These are the factors that influence sample size. Next slide. Okay, yeah. So the nature of research. What kind of research are you doing? Is it t-test, relationship, linear regression? Then what type of analysis? So if you are doing exploratory factor analysis, at least 50 observations. If you're simple linear regression, using simple linear regression, 50 samples. The thing is, consider budget, time, and then resources. Yun talagang pinaka determining factor. Okay? So what are the alternatives to Slovin's formula? These are your alternatives. Next slide. Yan, sample to item ratio. Kung ilan ang not less than 5 to 1. So better to use 20 to 1. Meaning to say, for every item, 20 samples. Okay? Then sample to variable ratio. Yeah, you can make use of the KMT table, which actually is also derived from Slovene. Next slide. Yan, ito. Roscoe's guidelines. I think we need to go back to the central limit theorem, no, na 30 samples is the minimum. 30 samples for what? For every attribute siguro. For every variable, 30. Kasi di ba, what makes a sample small? What makes a sample large? Ang cutoff ay 30. Pag 30 na, it's already considered a large sample. Anything below 30, small sample size yon. So we need to go back to that. Pero hindi 30 na, yun na ang total mo. 30 siguro per attribute or per variable that you study. Okay? So these are your alternatives to Slovin's formula, no? I try to use it 10 times the greater than the number of variables. For example, if your instrument has 50 items at may marami mga standard instruments na sobra sa 50, mga 100, o times 10, di 1,000. So ganun. You can just make use of the number of items of your instrument times 10, then yun ang sample size mo. Acceptable yon. Okay? So, yan, Green's procedures is also halos pareho lang sa Roscoe's guidelines. Then, last slide. Now, if you are using, structured equation modeling, you're doing a structured equation modeling, path analysis. So, this is what I try to do, yung 10 times the largest number of structural paths, or 10 times largest number of formative indicators. So if there are 50 indicators, then 10 times 50, 500 ang sample mo. But there's a new, yun nga kaya medyo disappointing yung recommendation ng advisor ko na use Slovene because itong inverse square root, this is the latest recommended sample size technique determination. This was is published only in 2018. Yan. So you see, inverse square root, so the minimum path is value is 0.2. So meron na siya, may corresponding sample size ka na makukuha using the inverse square root method. So I guess the point here is this. The kind of analysis that you will do should be factored in determining your sample size. Okay? So I guess, again, let me end. Stop teaching Slovene. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, VP Ivan. Please stay po because we actually have time for a couple of questions. You may take the sofa so that you could also rest. Thank you. Sorry, please press
I hope wala akong na-offend na ano. Pero ng mga doktor. Sorry. Pero I guess that's the insight as a doctoral student. Siguro yun nga, we need to update talaga our knowledge. Okay, what we know. That's one thing. And siguro, in my part din also, as a researcher, I parang hindi dapat mag-rely sa advisor. Siguro ang role ng advisor is really, parang, kasi as tayo as a researcher and to the students here, we tend to get lost in the details. Ang role ng advisor is to bring you back. I guess, to bring you back to refocus you. Yun siguro. Kaya, not so much on designing your kasi responsibility mo talaga yun as a researcher. Yeah. But, really, for the grad school, sana lang nandito yung mga taga-grad school, no? Talaga, i-update talaga yung knowledge. We need to update our knowledge of statistics. We need to redesign our statistics course for doctoral. And start teaching about exploratory factor analysis, confirmatory factor analysis, structured equation modeling, and veer away from, is there a relationship? Is there a difference? If we want to get published in a Q1, Q2 journal, kasi very elementary na yun.
Thank you, VP Ivan, for reiterating those things. Once again, let's give him a round of applause. And for reiterating that we should be accurate, noteworthy, and we have to push the envelope also for ourselves. So both students and teachers alike. First question, I think Sir Vince Barcelona himself, a research teacher. But keep it coming po. And again, for those of us who are joining online, please use the chat box if we'd also like to ask questions to VP Ivan. Go ahead, Sir Vince.
Yeah, I really like yung point kanina na ni-raise ni Sir regarding the type of analysis that we need to use for certain types of phenomenon. Kasi we cannot just treat formula as if it's one size fits all. It's really a good point. I think yun din yung ginagawa ko ngayon sa research class ko, sa thesis writing class ko, because mahirap talagang sabihin na ito yung gamitin kasi ito yung ginagamit ko na noon pa, so you can still use it. Parang ganun. And I think yun din yung kagandahan ngayon that part of the thesis process ng UMak is that we really we require our students who are doing quantitative research to look for statisticians to help them validate their questionnaire. Syempre po, since I am coming, ma-veer away na po ako dun sa point na yun, pero I think my question is, as someone from the discipline, philosophy, who really doesn't use statistical formula for our research, Na ano po ako na-excite ako dun sa recommendation regarding sa online calculator for sampling size. Kulang na po kasi ng oras kanina to explain those two online calculators. Kung pwede lang po. I think yun din yung for our students din siguro. Bakit considered as they are reliable online calculators, sir? Yun lang naman po. Thank you.
I'm only familiar with two, no? Yung G-Power and RAW. These are all free software. You can download this. Pero there's also argument on this. Pero the advantage of like G-Power, it tells you, it directs you, ano bang gusto mong research? Anong analysis ang gagawin mo? T-test ba? Z-test? Chi-square? Then, ano ang power? Ano ang significant? Kumbaga, it asks you what is the confidence level that you will use, the alpha that you will use, then the beta that you will use, the power that you want to achieve. So, merong statistical power na tinatawag. And from there, it will determine the sample size. So, parang na-automate na niya. It's like AI. So, popular sa mga students ngayon na parang it spares you from the math of determining the sample size. It just makes use of this software. It tells you the sample size. But beware also because hindi pa masyadong fully explained paano yung math in determining for this software. Kung ano ginagamit nilang math to come up with the sample size. Kaya, pinakasimple talaga, you go back to the central limit theorem of 30, tapos, ilan pang variables? So, it's 30 per variable siguro. At merong minimum talaga, we don't have to, basta there's alternative to Slovene. Yun.
Thank you, VP Ivan. And thank you, Sir Vince, for that question. Do we have another pa from our audience or maybe from our online participants? From other statistics teachers themselves who might also be here joining us?
By the way, I'd like to acknowledge my cluster for the moral support. Talagang sinuporta nila yung boss nila.
May quiz daw po
Thank
kayo mamaya. But kidding aside, thank you very much to OVPF. Yes, Sir Ray, I can see your hand from here.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Yes, yuck. The problem with statistics is it's not built in the advising process. It's outside the advising process, wherein we all know that a research is highly dependent on the statistical analysis. And I don't know, but would you support that we go towards that when we advise research writers, thesis writers? The advisor should, if he or she is not capable of the statistical process to be incorporated in his advising, be it a collaborative process or a collaborative arrangement with statisticians within the college or in the university, I think.
Oh, sir, I guess I go back to what I said kanina. I think we need to, I guess, scale down our expectation or the role of the advisor. Yung researcher mismo talaga should be equipped on statistics, should be grounded also on statistics if he or she is doing on a quantitative research, no? Parang, I guess nga, we need to redefine the role of the advisor. Talagang is really just parang guide, oy, balik ka dito. Medyo you get lost in the details na parang refocus, parang ganon. So, but the researcher talaga is the main architect of his own research. Yun ang stand ko. So, as a researcher, you should be grounded also on talaga statistics. Yun ang sa akin. Parang, kumbaga, third eye lang ang advisor, pati yung statistician. But really, it's you as a researcher should be the one, you should be able to, decide on what statistical technique to use for your research question. And, kumbaga, yung statistician, ano lang siya, doing the dirty work lang. Yung talagang the math stuff. But you, as the researcher, ikaw ang designer, ikaw ang architect. That's my POV.
Thank you, Sir Ivan. I would just like to put some more input or somehow my own understanding of advising. I guess originally it was about advising is more of a mentoring, because yes, it's somehow ideal to have a researcher who's also have a depth in knowledge in terms of the statistics that he is going to apply. But in reality, the research writers, even in writing, have to be mentored.
Yeah.
Even in the writing of their research, the methodology have to be mentored.
Yes.
So
Especially
going through the statistic process is way from their capability might be too far already.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is maybe we could study that options, or maybe later on as we grow in our research endeavors, we would look into that, more collaborations for mentoring and advising the research writers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Especially at the undergraduate level, no? Talagang advisor, medyo major yung role. Kaya I support the idea that the advisor at the undergraduate level, co-author siya. Not just advisor. So, pwede niya i-claim co-author siya with his or her students. That I support that kind of perspective. Talagang it's a continuous learning, and there's pressure for us to be at par with our foreign counterparts in as far as research is concerned, in terms of output, in terms of research design. Yan, talagang we really need. But yun nga, as I've said, if we want to be at par with our foreign counterparts, medyo kailangan talaga natin mag-level up. We need to go beyond mean and standard deviation, test for difference, and test for relationship. Yun.
Thank you, Sir Ray. So we have 3 questions in total already given to VP Ivan. We're allowed 2 more. I just want to make sure I look at this side of the audience too, because there's a flag, our Philippine flag is in between. Baka lang po may naka-raise hands din po, and I'm unable to see you or acknowledge you. So our last 2 questions for VP Ivan, relative to his topic, of course. And any more also from online, just in case there are questions online, we could also flash it on screen. So none from this side. I think for the meantime, that's our questions for this round, but please keep it coming in case after processing it within today, something comes up or a thought comes up. We could, of course, relay it to VP Ivan through the CUR. So once again, let's give VP Ivan a big round of applause. And at this point, please stay, VP Ivan.
Thank you for staying. Thank you for listening.
Yes, indeed. We also concur with his expression of gratitude for our audience who stayed, for our deans who stayed and supported our research congress. And at this point, we would like to request VP Net Cariaga and also VP Niez, VP Roland Niez of Biliran Province State University. Also, once again, Professor De Los Santos for coming on. Please come on stage so we could award the Certificate of Appreciation to VP Ivan for this afternoon's learning session. And as they approach on stage, let me read the citation. The Certificate of Appreciation is proudly given to Engineer Luke Ivan B. Moro for the invaluable knowledge imparted as keynote speaker for the 7th Research Congress with the theme 7-17-7, Committing for People's First Development and Sustainable City, conducted on October 16 to 17, 2024 at the University of Makati Admin Building Auditorium, given this 16th day of October. Signed, Dr. Alexor C. Ramos, PhD, CESE, University President, Florante E. De Los Santos, RGC, Director, Center for University Research, and Maria Faye Nanette M. Cariaga, RPH, PhD-EM, Vice President for Planning and Research. Once again, a huge round of applause for Engineer Luke Ivan B. Moro. Right, so there we go. That would be our session speakers for the day. So gusto ko rin naman this time, you please give yourselves a big round of applause too for being with us from morning until the afternoon, whether in person or online. And of course, for contributing. Even before this day, I heard from our good CUR office, we have been meeting the colleges and institutes to prepare for this day. Maraming salamat po for all those weeks of preparation. And before we conclude today, we'd just like to remind everyone to please visit the booths, the exhibits rather, that were kicked off last Monday. So, exhibit walk and judging for the following exhibits. Number 1, Poblacion, promotion of the cultural identity of Barangay Poblacion as the Heritage District of Makati City. Let's give them a round of applause. Exhibit 2, Intel RX, a mobile health application for enhancing medication knowledge of selected geriatrics in District 1, Makati City. Palakpakan din po natin ang kanilang exhibit. So, for this exhibit, we give a round of applause to Althea Alquera, Kim Havines, Felicity San Antonio, and Ma'am Estela de Vera Barasi. For the first one, we also would like to acknowledge Mr. Mark Aldrin Dizon, Ala Brada and Daya, Jafet, Christian Ray Marquez, Becky San Jose, and Colleen Valero. For exhibit number 3, development of Herbalens, a medical plant image capture application, acknowledging Mark Angelo P. Rivera, Paul Xavier M. Dubiao, Arian P. Villagonzalo, Mr. Rommel L. Dorin, MIT, Assistant Professor Estela de Vera Barasi, MS Farm RPH, and Associate Professor Wilbur B. Sabado, MM. So let's also give them a big round of applause. For Exhibit 4, Cultural Diversity and Inclusion Practices of Hotel Establishments in Makati City, bridging the gap between the employee and guest perspective. Let's acknowledge Professor Jefferson S. Marcelo, Professor Marvin Costales, and Professor Philip Peralta. Number 5, evaluating the efficiency of UMap, a disaster management mobile application for UMak students and employees, acknowledging Janelle Rishley Macapagal, Sophia Jane Alejandrino, Jubal, is this Jubal Agagon, Irish Arian Evangelista, Marinel Codizal, Crystalline Joyce Bragas, and Angelo Joaquin Castro. So the judging will be finalized by tomorrow. We will announce the winners also tomorrow. But yes, they also deserve your big round of applause, everyone. Right, so that ends our day one for the 7th Research Congress, 717-7, committing for a people's first development and sustainable city. See you all tomorrow for our day 2 session. Maraming salamat po. And as you proceed to the exhibits, yes, before you proceed rather to the exhibits, the evaluation and attendance form, QR codes are on screen. Please access them so that our CUR team would also be able to check out your feedback. We all have areas for improvement. That's also research. So let's do that also actively. Ayan po. And as you go over your QR codes, nais po nating pasalamatan ang mga sumusunod. So for the editorial board, Florante E. de los Santos, LPT MA, Vincent C. Barcelona, MA Philosophy, the managing editors, Carl Joseph Gading, Jason Villaflor, Nove A. Lee, the 7th Research Congress Working Committee, Maria Estela de Vera, IOP, June Lorcy Daxa, the First Sight, Jefferson Marcelo, CTHM, Aldrin Mendoza, IIHS. Yes, your applause is still part of the program. Please continue clapping and thanking. Jerome C. Abenilla, Dean, IIHS, Tessie Sagadraka, Dean, Class, Mary Acel D. Herman, Dean, IAD, Donna B. Carbonilla, Dean, IOPSI, Engineer Concepcion M. Laurico, CE, PSMD-CM, Dean, CCSE, Kathleen Mestades, Site HSU, Wilbur Sabado, CCIS, Amante Luis Olivar, CBFS, Mary Joyce Samson, CHK, Joanna Grace Bagason, CHK, Tomasa Quinones, HSU, Mark Rickson Bacordio, IOPSI, J.R. Grates, CIC, Mark Vincent Valerio, OUSEC, Gemelina A. Velasquez, OVPAA, Rayland S. Refugio, UFMO, Coral Jade A. Chua, OVPAA, Maria Victoria V. Samulde, OUR, Oyeza Mogul, OVP-PR, Butacan John Bonin P. LLC. Rapporteurs, Ms. Novelli, Christine M. Condes, Greta Navales, and Ms. Sheila Torregoza, and Ms. Fia Jane Lesis. Also, acknowledging our CIC team, our RIMPORT team, and of course, the Management Committee of the University of Makati, along with our partner schools, BIPSU, SLSU, and of course, Global Health. Maraming salamat po. Please enjoy the exhibits. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Magpo-photo op po ba kayo? I'm asking you. So, CUR, do you want a photo op with your participants? Okay, participants, if you could kindly come forward daw po so they might have a photo with everyone. Students, please join. Thank you so much. Colleagues, marami pong salamat for indulging the photo opportunity. Salamat.
Ay. Hello, Gianna. Gianna.
Mabilis, students please come in front daw po, on stage pala. Sige po, careful. Para daw po mas mabilis. Okay, and this, yes, we could kindly, actually more of move the chairs backward to provide, let's think of our classmates too. Sige, kindly move the chairs backward. Oh, ayaw na mag-move ng chairs. Thank you. Oo, para naman kasya din po yung ibang students. Thank you for thinking about others too. Sorry po, ma'am. Salamat. That means a lot. Salamat. Okay, careful po sa mga students na nasa stage. Sana we have enough. Compress pa rin daw po. And maybe the gentlemen on stage, we could kindly move the chairs backward po in case you feel that moving it slowly would help. Salamat. Thank you to Sir Jun Lor. Slowly po, thank you very much pong muli. Please enjoy the exhibits. Have a good afternoon, everyone. See you all tomorrow.
Hi guys. Partner, kumusta ka naman?
Okay lang.